Hi guys, Natalie here, running the Barmy Army socials. Don't leave it for me; it'll all go wrong. No, but I'm really glad to have you here. Um, just going to talk about Reading today, and about how you know these games have gone for us. So I'm going to talk firstly about the very first game at home, LSV, 5,000 people there, Conti Cup. Um, we lost unfortunately, but what was your feelings about that game? Mark, I'm going to come to you first.
It was the second. It was my only ever second women's game I'd ever been to, so I wasn't sure what to expect. The week before, we played Liverpool in the Conti Cup on telly. I watched that, and I was actually genuinely excited to go down to watch the team play live for the first time. And when I got there, it was a lovely summer's day, good crowd, and yeah, the game was that I enjoyed the game. It was a new experience for me, but generally, I really enjoyed that game.
Training. I mean, you'd one of the main ones who had watched a bit of women's football before. Obviously, Reading are a tough side, so coming up against them in the Conti Cup, we were a championship side, very first formed. What was your thoughts about that game?
Do you know what? I mean, obviously, we did lose, as Mark mentioned, 2-0. But I think for me, we had chances. I think we hit the bar in the post a couple of times. To me, I thought we pretty much matched them, at least for about 60 minutes. Obviously, they also had a player sent off. But I think these last few years, they've been sort of top 4, top 5 in the WSL. They are a very good and well-established team. So I think for me, that was like kind of an eye-opener to how we could progress really last season. I think, we matched them, as I say, and had we taken our chances, you're probably looking at a different game, really.
David, what's your thoughts on that game? Because obviously, new to women's football, as three of us were training you a bit, but seeing that game, what did you think? Did you expect the team to win?
To be honest, I didn't know much about it. Obviously, I followed United's first team. I followed the under 23s and 18s, like the academy sides. And to be honest, I just went to Leigh to think, because I've been to Leigh plenty of times to watch the under 23s. I just thought I'll go and just say it was out the first home game. I think, to be honest, because I watched a bit of the World Cup when it was in Canada, was it? I quite enjoyed it, but going to an actual women's game, never done it. So I thought, go along, see what happens. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought standard of football was great. Obviously, you hear tales of women's football. This type of football is not good to watch, but I really enjoyed it. Before I went, I Googled Reading to see what they were about, and they were an all right team in the top league. And obviously, we're a brand new team in the second division. And I thought we held our own for a lot of the game, really. I think the goal came pretty late on, but 2 of them. So I think we're pretty hard done by, really. Like I say, I only went just to say I was at the first one, but when I was there, I thought, right, I'm doing this definitely again, and I ended up going to the next game, which was away at Villa. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think, to be fair, I think United made it good as well, because like Mark was saying, it was a nice day, but they had a load of things outside, especially for young kids and stuff, that attracted people to go there. And to be honest, they've not really done that since, and maybe that's something that United can really look at to try and get more people going again.
I think the thing for me that
definitely, I think it would be good.
The thing that I stands out for me is one of the moments, because as you said, Dave, that some of us have come from the men's game, that when the teams came out, it wasn't like anything I'd experienced before at Old Trafford. When the teams come out, everyone stands up and they applaud, even during the warm-up. There was none of that. And I just found that, I took that as like, ooh, what's the etiquette here kind of thing. But no.
Well, I went into it because it was at Leigh. I went into it like it was a under 23 game, and you don't really get that there. You obviously get, when people come out, the players come out, they clap, and when there's a goal, people will cheer, but there's not really much going on, really, during the game from the fans' point of view. So I just went into it from that, just basic on where the game was being held.
I mean, I don't know, but for me, obviously, I went there. First game was sort of encouraged to go by another friend, but like I said, United put on a coach down to Lee, 50-seater, and if they didn't do that, I would have had no other way of going. And I just went down, and like Mark said, I didn't know what the etiquette was. I didn't know, but like he said, the teams came out and no one was cheering, no one was on the feet, no one was cheering them on. But I mean, I tried to get a few songs going, realised maybe it wasn't the etiquette, but still tried to sing sort of generic United songs. And I think for me, that game, well, Jess impressed me. Hit the post. There's a few times I thought she should have scored. And I actually said to her, next time you'll score. And then the Villa happened. But, Zellum really stood out for me in the middle of the park. Alex Greenwood whipping them balls. I think you could see we had a really good team. I mean, I didn't realise that Reading were, like Craney said, quite high up. But I think us as the first ever game, we really matched them. And, I think we set our stall out then to show what we were about. We had a lot of good players there. And they would only get better. And then obviously, we went through the season. We did, we carried on winning. We beat a few Super League teams, and then Reading came again in the cup. What was your thoughts and feelings? It had been like a long period of time. We had developed as a team. We had looked loads better. We'd beaten Everton. We'd beaten West Ham. To me, I thought the second game, anyway, when we drew Reading, I thought, right, here's revenge. Because that first game, we should have, if we had taken our chances, like Freddie said, we would have won that easily. So when it was Man United Reading pulled out the hat, what do you think? What was your thoughts just before it? We'll go on to that game and what happened in it and stuff. But just before it, when you saw it was Reading again, Craney, what did you think?
Do you know what? It's one of them. We seem to. I mean, obviously this season, I'd say obviously it's been a lot better against Reading. But if you touch in obviously on that away game last season, I don't think I've ever walked away from a game so gutted in my life. I mean, that FA Cup game was something else, wasn't it? We've gone from getting beat sort of 2-0, like I said, in the Cup first game of the season to obviously going to that 1-3-2 to losing sort of last minute. Now, for me, obviously, it highlighted one, progression since the start of the season, and two, that we could compete. And I think we could more than hold our own. Like I said before, when we take our chances and if we take them, that we come up against these better teams and we can pretty much match them. And obviously last year we were Championship. Obviously, again, we were all starting out as a new team. Team was still getting used to each other. And of course, Reading, they're an established side. I mean, they've had a pretty much a settled side now for the past sort of 3-4 seasons, bar a couple of signings, obviously, last year and the year before. So I think for me, it was just good to measure our progression really within the season.
But I mean, obviously, Mark, we didn't, someone who didn't probably know about women's football, but we'd just beaten 2 Super League teams, then drawing Reading again in the cup. On the basis of what we did to them in the first game, yes, we lost. But what was your feelings going into it? I was confident. I thought we were going to win that quarterfinal of the cup. Yeah. I didn't see Reading as an issue.
No, I mean,
we had developed.
Yeah, I mean, we beaten Brighton when we first went into the Cup, and then we beat the London Bees at Hyde. So I wasn't. We were also on a really good run of form going into that game. No, I think on the way down, if my memory serves me correctly, we were all pretty confident that we would come out of that with a win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I thought we would have won it.
I mean, yeah, we'll go on to that. But Dave, I'm going to start with you. I don't know if you were confident or not, but during the game, what was your feelings? I mean, it went 0-0, didn't it? Until extra time, or it went 1. I can't remember, but go on.
Yeah, well, I was pretty confident on the way there. I think, like Mark said, we've beaten Brighton. We've beaten every Super League team we come across apart from Arsenal at that point, I think. And even in the Arsenal game, I thought we held our own. You got to remember, at that point, they were the best team in the league by a mile, and I think that we came so close with them. So I was super confident, and obviously watching the season from the start to up to that point, I thought we'd do it. But the game in all, especially in normal time for the 90 minutes, pretty edgy. It was just one of them edgy 0-0 games where if it was a league game, you'd be quite happy to leave it at 0-0 and just get out of there because it could have gone either way kind of thing. But obviously it was a cup game, went to extra time. We get a great start. Greenwood gets I can't remember who wins the penalty, but Greenwood steps up, takes the penalty. And we're thinking, right, we've got this now. 2 minutes later, they equalise. And then not long after that, the ball cropped in. I thought at first it was, because we were right on the side of the pitch. I thought it was Molly Green who scored it, but it turned out it was an own goal to make it 2-1 in extra time, not long left. And once again, you think, right, this is it. We've made our mistake. We're going to get back in this. We're back in this now. Let's just hold out. But literally a minute later, they equalise. And then what happened after that was just ridiculous, really. Free kick, head to the box. Shivy saves it, but pushes it towards the Reading player. And then last kick of the game, they go and win it. And it was, it was gutting to take because I think that in that extra time, I think we were the better team. And like I said, in the first half, with the edginess of the 0-0, I wouldn't say we were the better team, but we played well. But that extra time, I think we deserved to do it, but we just let ourselves down the way that we conceded straight after we scored. It's very disappointing, but I think the team had learned from that, and I think from that point on, the rest of the season was just brilliant for us.
It's the
one. Talk to me about that. Go on then.
It's the one game, and I think Craney's maybe pointed out on it before. It's the one game that annoys me about that season. I can handle the loss to Arsenal. I can even handle the loss to Durham in the league. That game against Reading is the one I cannot. Just to this day, it still annoys me.
What do you think it is, though, Mark? And even Craney jump in. Why do you? I mean, that's the first time we've seen something like that. That they've just, I'm going to say, capitulated. We've seen it even similar West Ham, and I thought that would have. We won't go on to West Ham. We'll stay on this. Why do you think they capitulated? I mean, I thought extra time, but do you think it's a mentality thing, Craney? Talk to me.
I mean, I suppose you could say mentality in the fact that we weren't used to coming up as such, barring obviously like the likes of Arsenal and West Ham against like what I'd say a lot better opposition than Championship. Now, for me, I think just maybe tiredness crept in. Fitness. Obviously, this was later on in the season. At one point, we were playing catch-up last year with games in hand, so we were sort of, Sunday, midweek, Sunday again. Obviously, for me, I know we had 21 players, but we didn't have a big squad. We couldn't rotate maybe for me as much as we'd have liked to. And I think fitness-wise, as well as a bit of mentality, and obviously, as Mark mentioned, we had a couple of mistakes, and that was it. Then we were literally out the cup, honest as you'd expect from sort of the top four side. So I think, a mixture of both, really. Fitness and mentality for me.
I'm going to put a comment up here. Deborah, hi everyone is in the comments. But let me just pull it up. Hopefully it comes up. If you can see it, if you saw it there, guys. She's just basically saying, do you think it was our the fact that we had such easy games?
Possibly, yeah.
Which led to that happening.
Yeah, possibly, because let's be honest with ourselves. The Championship was pretty easy for us. I think Durham beat us, and I think we drew against Tottenham. Is that all the points we lost all season? And the rest of the games are pretty straightforward. And
Durham just beat us. We didn't draw, I don't think. There you go. I can't remember drawing.
So, all in all, yes. We were just flowing through games without really having to think about it. I think if we were in the Championship this season, I think it would have been a bit different because I think Villa have stepped up, and I think even Sheffield, to a degree, have stepped up. So if we had them teams in the Championship last season, would we have won them games? Possibly, because we'd have had tougher games to play, and we'd have been used to playing tougher games. But yeah, we just didn't have the practice of playing these big teams, apart from at the Arsenal game, which I've mentioned, Brighton, but I didn't think Brighton was that good. Yeah, I do think it's shown this season where we have beaten teams. It's because we're playing a high caliber of football.
I mean,
obviously,
we scored in the 98th minute. I think you said we scored in the 98th. They scored in the 100th. We then scored in the 106th. They then scored in the 107th. We've all been to games. Sometimes you need to manage the ball a bit better than that instead of trying to boot it up the field. And for me, that was the difference. For me, that would have been the difference. Just the way we would have managed the ball better. But it was one of those games that I suppose it wasn't to be.
For me, I do think it's a bit of the mentality thing. I think it's a bit of, mentally, we thought we were better than what we were. And I think, I'm not saying that we can't beat Reading. I mean, I think this season's shown, but we got a bit cocky in that. I think a lot of us probably thought it was easy. We all went there thinking it was easy. So if we went with that, I think potentially they went with that not in a way that every game's easy, but we've had all these easy games. We've been blowing through teams. We beat Everton. We beat West Ham. So a team like we competed against Arsenal. So you're thinking a team like Reading, we should win. And I think that's been our downfall in some aspects, potentially. And I think Super League or games like that has helped us for the Super League, because even if on paper we might be better than Reading, you always give 110%, and I think you always have to give 110%. Not that we don't, but I think they're going to look for ways to try and beat us. If they can't do it skillfully, they might do it other ways. And for me, that then comes on to the third game that we've had against Reading. I know we're sort of powering through it, but when they came to LSV this season, again, I was confident, because I'm always confident, and they didn't disappoint. We've seen it's never a foul. Then I don't know what game she's been playing. But, they were dirty, but that's what I expect against a team like that. No disrespect in any way. I expect if we've got a lot of skillful players, they're going to go in tough, and so they should. It reminds me of Stoke in a way. So they should go in tough. So they should, stick it up us. But I think that game we dealt. Mark, what do you think when they came LSV this year?
I've never gone into a game, like you said, that I didn't think we would win, ever. And we were in a really good run of form when they came to LSV earlier in the season. So my confidence was, yeah, we can beat them. I don't think they were in such a great run of form at the time. So I think it was one of those games where we, with the form team, should win, and we did. But what I like is sometimes when you get those teams that are a little bit physical, because then it shows you what like you said, it shows you what the girls can do, and I love it. I love it when a tackle flies around. That's football, And no, I there was no fear of. I just thought we would beat them, and we quite comfortably. And I actually thought we did.
Yeah, Craney, the second game. No, third game at home, LSV. I mean, I was a bit nervous based on what had gone last season, but I still thought, we were on a lot of good form. I thought we'd win, but they made it physical, didn't they? They made it tough. What was your feelings?
Yeah, I think similar to you guys. I mean, I was always confident. We knew from sort of the first and second game that we'd improved each time against them. So I think for me, the third time was our time to show that, we are capable. And as you both mentioned, especially at home now, I think this season, LSV, we have made it a fortress against these kind of WSL teams, or even the bigger teams. We've run them very close. So I think, 2-0. Was it comfortable? Yes. Could it have been more? For me, yes. But at the end of the day, like you touched on, they are a physical team. They're very difficult to break down. I think in that game, for me, they kind of was a lot in midfield. He kind of bogged it down into there, tried slowing down the tempo, and then let their key players dictate. But I think we handled it very well. We got our result, and as obviously Mark touched on, we were in a good run of form. I think that came about the time when we were something like 5 wins and 5 clean sheets. Obviously, they were down. I think they were around about 7th, maybe 8th in the table, struggling for form and possibly injuries. But again, take nothing away from our players. It was a well-deserved win for me.
That for me was a game like you want to see. Grind it out. David, talk to me about that third game. Were you confident going into it, or what do you think of it overall?
Yeah, I'm a bit like you, a bit confident, especially a team like Reading, where the season before, I thought we played pretty well against them both times. But yeah, we thought we were great. Much better on the ball than we were the season before against them. And like you say, they were a bit rough with it. And I just think we just outplayed them, really. And they took, I think the first goal was that Hansen volley, wasn't it? I just smashed it in.
Yeah.
Really good goal. And then the moment that went in, we were just, there's only another team going to score again. And that was, I think Siggy got the second, didn't she? And made it 2-0. And it was just a great performance from us. And it just showed that what level we were at in the league, because even though we're in the Super League, nobody kind of was sure what we're all about, being so new and stuff. And when we beat them, and I just thought, really outplayed him that game. And like you say, if Craney was saying before, they were a top 4 team, and the way it is now, if the season ended now, we'd be that top 4 team. So obviously we're in that position now where we've gone above them, and I just think we're a better team than they are.
Yeah, I really think that, and I just think this season has shown it. Last season, I thought we were, say, the better team, but I think they had that experience. But this year, we've shown that we've got that experience. We've learned from those games. Like Craney says, they are a tough team. They are hard to break down. I mean, the game, the 4th game, when we will get on to the handball. Listen, we'll talk about that separate. I just want to talk about the game overall down at Adams Park again. For me, confident again. Never learn. But I thought we weren't in as good as form as the first one. We had, West Ham had happened, so it showed that we still had those frailties where we could just, capitulate. I'll say that word again. I don't mind. But we'd shown against Reading, and they weren't as physical, if anything, I think, as they were the first game. Mark, what did you think that second game, Adams Park, going down there again?
We weren't in a great run of form, as you said. And I think I was speaking to Dave on the journey down, and I think we both said a point today is a great result, especially where we were with the form. And I was happy with the point. Ultimately, I wasn't happy the way it came about. Yeah. But a point was a good point at the time, because we weren't in a great run of form. We'd had games postponed, and it was one of those games where I think you go in, you take your point, you get out, and you build on the momentum on from that. And like you said, it wasn't a very physical game, and I think we were trying to play ourselves into a bit of form at that game. And as you said, we'll get on to the talking point. But no, I was more than happy with the point. I wasn't happy the way we got it. We should have got 3.
Yeah.
But on the way down to Adams Park, I said, Dave and I said, we're talking. We both said a point's a great point.
I would have been happy with a point. Obviously, the way it ended up, to be fair, there was chances. Again, not taking chances. Craney, we'd really, to be honest, I think we'd put Reading to the sword that first game this season. We'd shown what we were all about. And then take away what happened, how they got their point, that penalty. But what did you think of that performance compared to even the very first performance of the season against Reading this season?
Do you know what? Saying it was backwards would be a bit harsh. I'd agree with Mark. Obviously, we were in a bad run of form. So for me, we weren't, I don't know, we weren't kind of, you see, I look at the first one and I look back at kind of the lineup and how we played. I think the club actually put the highlights up the other day. We had Jess centrally. And obviously, I think this game, from what I can recall, I think Jess, did she start out wide and then swap with Jane? There's a lot of chopping and changing and things. But again, like kind of Mark said, I was happy. We also on our bus mentioned, right, if we can get a point here, obviously last season having lost in the cup, then we take a point. Now, again, like you touched on, we had chances. Better, I think, mentally wise, I think we did look a little bit better. Fitness wise as well, but again, it comes down to that creating chances, taking chances, and obviously, bad run of form, which we have found kind of since Christmas to get out of in a way.
And I mean, I think maybe if we'd had Reading at home, people would have been a bit more confident. But the fact that it was Reading away, wiping there the season before, then we've come into this. David, Mark sort of said that you were feeling a bit, would have taken a point. Obviously, it happened the way it happened. But what was your feelings over the overall performance? We'll go on to the handball. Or you can start off if you want to talk about the handball.
At the time, and probably a week or two after, I was still fuming about what had happened, the way we conceded that penalty, which was never a penalty. And then we ended up drawing because of it. But now, in hindsight, looking back, you've got to say we were pretty lucky, really, that it was only a draw, because it took a brilliant save from Mary Oakes from the spot. They had a penalty before that where she pulled out an amazing save. So you got to think, if that had gone in, you don't know how the game would have turned out. We could have been, even without that handball, that was never a handball, we could have lost that game. But all the emotion was on the incident at the end, which was obviously one of the worst, if not the worst, refereeing decision I've ever seen. So people forget how we actually played in that game. People just concentrating on we should have won because of that bad decision. But I don't think we were that great that game. Yeah, we could have won 1-0, and we should have won 1-0, but it could have gone either way, really. I think, once again, at that game. It was an early kickoff on a Sunday, if I remember rightly. So them away, they always look a bit edgy, especially the ones where you go down London way. The girls, I don't know what it is, because you're travelling the night before, you've got to get up early, you don't know. It's just them games are like that, and I think with Reading as well, they wanted a bit of revenge, really, maybe, because we beat them at our place. But it was just disappointing. But looking back, it could have been worse. But yeah, like you say, that penalty decision was just ridiculous. I don't know if I cannot think of anything I've seen on TV.
We were really bad in that game, and like you say, in the end, after they went 1-1, I was just like, take the point now, take the point and get out, because we would have taken a point at the start. It's good to see May make a debut. That's the only shining light for me, that point, because I think as well we went 1-0 early and we just never looked like scoring again. Usually we go 1-0, 2-0, like, you know what I mean? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. It's just that 1-0, and then there was nothing else. It was a great goal, by LJ, but that was in the first half, wasn't it? Late in the first half, and you would have thought, come out second half, bang, man. But it wasn't, and it was just dulcet, let's say. Just dulcet, just nothing. And it was like they were just seeing out a 1-0, and that's where it gets risky, doing that, in my opinion, if you're just looking to hang on to a 1-0. But Craney, I mean, you can expand on that and your thoughts and feelings on, the performance in general, but that penalty, that wasn't. I mean, the first one, I think, was Mary made a fantastic save. And then I think to have that one go against her, I mean, you don't see keepers make two saves. She nearly got it, though. But that was just better refs. What can I say?
No, I think you've kind of took. I mean, for me, I don't know whether it was where I stood, but the first one to me looked quite soft, to be fair. And then obviously we had the thing with Jess and was it offside, was it onside? But I think similar to you said, obviously first half, took us a while to kind of get going. Then we got the goal, and like you said, we never kind of we never went up a gear usually, especially obviously last season, even the start of this, when we're in form, you know, you'd see them, we'd go out, we'd get the goal, we'd try and get a few more, especially early on as well. And I just think the Reading game, I don't know, it was one of them ones, like you said, it was a lot of kind of, you know, shall we say, long balls hit to LJ in hopes that we do something with it. And I think, you know, she can't carry the team. We can't constantly rely on her. We do need to kind of get back to how we were at the start of the season. So I think for me, you know, like you said, had we kicked on and kind of put them on the back foot, especially, you know, in their own home, you know, I think we could have gone on potentially to get somewhere. But that said, like we've all mentioned before, you know, I think a point was satisfactory. However, under the circumstances, it really wasn't.
I mean, I was still angry. I'm still angry now. I can't even talk about it. I can talk about it in respect of what Dave said. You know, we should have done more. We went 1-0 up. We should have been 2-3. But that referee, I mean, Mark, you've watched a lot of football. You watch football all your life. I mean, a lot of us have. You're a bit older than us, so you probably watch a lot more games than some of us. I know Dave's watched a lot, but, you know, talk to me about that. I mean, I've been to non-league games. I've been to Europa League. Yeah, a lot of it I've seen top. I've seen Championship last year. I've seen a lot of Championship this year. Seen devs, refs. What? I don't understand. I just don't. And I mean, refs make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. No one's perfect. There are going to be mistakes that you make. For example, Lampard crossing the line, it was miles over. You know, things like that. But it's easy with that. You're a bit further away. When she's looking straight at it, when the lines person is looking directly on, I don't understand. And her hands are just by her side, like jump up. What?
It's, as Dave said, and he's not underselling it by any stretch of the imagination. It is the worst refereeing decision ever that I've ever seen. And as you said, we've all been to lots of games. How a referee can get that confused with that is still beyond me. I don't understand it. I didn't understand it at the time. I don't understand it now. And I've rewatched the highlights, and every time I rewatch it, I still think the referee's not going to give it because it's that obvious. It hits a head. You looked at the bench of, you know, Casey and Glenn and Ian. They were all going berserk. The players' parents, they were all going berserk. And you look at, you know, the referee didn't even consult with the lino. The referee just made that decision because she thought she had the better angle of it. But in hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, at least go and consult. That's what the assistant refs are there for, to say, did you see what I saw? At least, you know, don't just make it up because you saw every player run at the ref to say, what are you doing? What are you giving us here? Because even the Reading players were a bit in a shock over it. It's the referee in that game was the worst referee I think I've ever seen, and I don't usually say those things about some refs. You know, we've had some good refs, we've had some bad refs. That ref was just the worst ref ever.
I mean, that decision went viral, which it should. And like I said, people were saying similar to your worst decision they've ever seen. The way the FA came out to defend it was by saying, actually, they've improved their decision making and referee standards are improving. And I just, at a time like that, I don't see how you can defend that. And I get it, you've always got to stand by your person, but that referee is now back refereeing, and there just seems to be no consequences to it. Whereas I think for us, it's sort of knocked us back because yes, we shouldn't be playing for a place like Reading. It's hard enough, so you should be taking your chances. But to go and win that game, basically, you know, defence did everything in that game for me. Yeah, they gave away that first. Maybe it wasn't. To be fair, Amy T actually did score a goal that was wrongly ruled off anyway. But things like that happen. The two chances that we had, we should have taken in the second half. But I mean, do you think that acted like a? How do you think, Mark? Me, not Mark. Matt. Do you think it demoralised them in a way? The girls, having a decision like that go against you. I know you're laughing, Dave, but I just don't understand.
No, I think like you kind of both pretty much hit the nail on the head with what you said. But I think for me, like Mark touched on, you've not even consulted somebody. You've not. I mean, like you said, everybody makes mistakes. But for me, that game, there were so many things that were missed or mistakes. I think, yes, you need some help from your assistant referees. You should be getting that. But the FA have got to look at this and say, this isn't good enough. I mean, let's say, for example, we were fighting relegation or fighting for the title. And then that point means that we either go down or we don't win something. I think it's every, or not every week, but, there's been games this season where we have had bad decisions, obviously none as bad as that. But I think, you only have to look at what other managers and what other players say when they say, I mean, you look at how many people tweeted players that wasn't good enough after that game from other clubs, like to Beth Mead at Arsenal, and people were saying, it's poor. And for me, I don't think it's got better. People seem to think, oh yeah, it's improved. I don't think it has. I think if anything, it's stayed the same, very kind of amateur. And there's been this whole discussion about, oh, refs, what did they get? 50, 60 quid, Do they get the training and support? No, they don't. They paid the minimum. I suppose we get the minimum quality, which for me is not good enough now. It's got to go forward. And it's like we've all said, it still rattles people because at the end of the day now we're progressing at a quick rate, Came off the back of a World Cup last year with more people taking part, more people watching, and now we're just there's small things, small improvements. But I think refereeing certainly for me has got to be a number one thing that they look at in the off season, whenever that now may be. Yeah,
I mean, this might not be a right time to talk about it with what we do, but with the Premier League clubs that are in it put towards it, and I'm thinking, with everything getting a bit more professional, I know some clubs are maybe strapped for money, but to say put a little bit towards it to maybe try and increase those standards. David, what would you say? Asking WSL clubs to put towards?
No, I wouldn't. But what I'm going to say here is, and people might have a go at me for this, but why is Sian Massey in the Premier League being a lineswoman? Is it because of a gender, or is it because she's good at a job, so they've employed her there? Whereas with the WSL and the Championship, I feel that they're trying to promote women referees and women assistant referees, where at this moment, if and they're just not good enough. I think there are women referees and women assistants who are good enough, but at the end of the day, we want good referees. No matter what it is, we want a good game, no incidents, everything's right. And you just need the best person for the job. Don't matter if you're a man, don't matter if you're a woman, just get the best person in for that job. And they don't seem to be doing that at all. They just want to focus it on we've got a women's game with women referees, but until they're at the same standard, I don't think you can do them.
Listen, Dave, I'm not saying that. No, people might say this and that, but our manager said exactly the same thing. In the World Cup, she said, listen, it shouldn't be about, obviously we want to promote the game and, equality and all this, but it should be about the best person, because this is now the best competition. We have a fully professional league, but our referees are of that standard. Like you say, at this moment in time, we're not pushing for that. But this for me is like our little league, and we would be 2 points ahead in that little league. I know it counts for nothing, but finishing fourth is a big thing in this season. So those 2 points could be the difference.
I think for me, I think Craney hit the point really well when he said, when you've got the players coming out after that game saying the referees are just not good enough. Go back to the early years of the Premier League when you had like the likes of David Ellery, who were all the referees before they were all part-time. That's, for me, they all work Monday to Friday or weekends as well, some if they have to. Unless these referees go full-time, and get the backing, not from the clubs, but from the FA themselves, we're going to have to put up with that level of refereeing, because the level of refereeing in the Premier League has got better since the refs have gone full time. And maybe it's me. Maybe the WSL is supposed to be the FA's spearhead league for the women. Then make your refs full time. Give them the backing you gave the refs in the Premier League, because otherwise you're going to get those decisions week in, week out until the refs are better.
But this is where I say to you, Dave said no, but this is where I say the Premier League put money into it. Not the FA, Premier League clubs put money into it. So that's where I'm a bit... I get what you're saying. It should be all the clubs.
To do with the FA Super League, so why should they?
No, but the Premier League pay for the referees now.
Yeah, but for the Premier League games.
For the Premier League games?
Yeah, so
why should they do for another league?
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not for Premier League shouldn't pay. I'm saying the WSL should pay. So those clubs should maybe put in $1,000 each. I'm not saying $1,000 is going to do anything, but 12 grand. I don't know. I don't know how much it is. But there's teams like Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, us, City. I know there's Bristol, Birmingham, but they've been established WSL clubs for a long time. You know, Everton. There's money now throwing about. Chelsea is splashing money. Arsenal is splashing money. To be fair, even Bristol splashed money this summer. I'm not saying that, you know, it's great. We're seeing all these great players, but things like referees, it's all right having great players on the pitch, but then the referee just allows sort of leg-breaking tackles. For me, I think we need to look at everything, not just...
No, we do, but I go back to my previous point. You go back, the referees have to have a level of... You know, the referees have to be able to manage the game. And the point is that they're coming from different leagues. I think Ian has made the point. So you need to have the referees you need to have professional referees in the WSL. And Ian's made the point. So unless you have referees that are full time, you're going to get referees who, with all due respect, referee a Sunday league game where they go on the pitch to knock 7 bells out of each other and, you know, do dirty tackles, which is not what you want to see in the game. You want to have a level of refereeing that's fair and balanced the whole way through. And maybe we need, as I said before, the WSL and, all right, the teams to, you know, get the refs to go full time. It's the only way, for me personally, the game will improve.
Yeah, because I mean, Deborah just made reference, you know, Spurs won't pay for a fridge. Well, maybe they'll pay when they realise that this referee is going to leave their player with a broken leg, and they'll start to pay it. Well, that's what it is. I think it's going to come from the clubs. The clubs have to sort of suddenly stand up and say, listen, we're not going to tolerate this standard anymore. And I think we are hearing it. Casey's coming out strongly against it. All our players came out strongly against it. All other players come out strongly. I've heard Emma Hayes come out strongly against it. But it's going to take something like the professional, so the EFL, the Premier League. It's going to take the clubs to push the FA to make it happen. The FA will still have to fund it, but the WSL and Championship might have to fund a high level a bit. Not a lot, but if we all cover together, that's what I think anyway. I'm going to move on for this topic because I'm sure we could go for hours about it. There's a point I saw here earlier, and I just want to, Craney, I want you to shout on it. Read it, let me know what you think. It's from Jake when it comes up. Oh, let me just press it. If not, I'll read it out.
Right, there. Oh, hang on.
It was there.
Oh, it was there.
Whereas we've grown, I think Reading are going the other way. What else did it say after that, apart from Reading going the other way?
It says, where has we've grown and since forming? Do you think we're going the other way? Games this season. we've met, we've been the better side. Who knows where they'll finish next season?
I wouldn't say Reading have gone the other way. I think, obviously they've lost players over the last couple of years. Players have aged as well. Obviously money's a factor as well, but I wouldn't say they've gone the other way. I mean, listen, I've not seen, obviously, very little of their games apart from obviously the ones we've played against them. But I just think this year, and especially since the league has gone professional, there has been more of I suppose, a balance. I mean, you look at Everton, last couple of years they've been fighting relegation. This year they've kind of improved. We've obviously came into the league, we've improved. You've got your West Hams and your Tottenhams kind of sometimes getting good results. So I think for me, I wouldn't say Reading have gone backwards. I'd say more it's other people catching up now. I think with the money that's slowly coming into the game, the funding. I mean, obviously we've got this TV deal next year, so that might be something where that's invested either, referees, as we mentioned before, transfers. But I think to say that Reading have gone backwards is a disservice to us, really, and I think a disservice to other teams that have kind of, they've come in and they've really kind of invested in players and coaching. I think Reading have always been, a top 4 side, and I think that was at the start of the season why I had us down for sort of 5th, 6th, because my thinking was obviously you've got your top 3, Reading, and then kind of ourselves, Spurs, West Ham, and Everton to kind of fight it out for 5th. But listen, Reading is still a half decent side. They were struggling to start the season when we played them, but I think these last sort of few months, obviously before the break for football, they've pretty much, kind of hit that form again. I think, every team's going to have up and downs this year. We've hit a bit of a rough patch, still remain 4th, but it's one of them for me. I think, definitely they've not gone backwards anyway, in my view.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about losing players. They've lost Jade Moore as well. That's going to be a big loss for them. But David, obviously, you said when, you first went to the first game, you looked up Reading usually on around the top 4. And then compared to that first game to now, basically, we've definitely developed. But what's your thoughts on Reading and, maybe next year? Do you think it's going to be those tough battles?
Yeah, I really do. Apart from the 2-0 win, obviously the one where we got a result, I still think that was a tough game. Both times we've been away, it's been tough. And you can't really go off the first game because it was first game at home and newish team. But do I think they're better than us? No. But do I think they're much worse than us? No. I think probably round about our level. I think we've maybe done better against other teams than they have. But one-on-one against each other, I think it could go either way. I still do. If we played next week, forget that we've been out no games for a month. If there was a game next week, I'm not sure who'd win out of
it. Mark, obviously, Reading started off, like Craney said, I thought, Reading, that'll be the ones we need to watch for. It's not. It's been us and Everton, which surprised us. But what's your thoughts on Reading? Do you see them still going forward? Like I've said, they've just lost Jade Moore. Players are aging a bit, but then that's the experience, and I think we could do with a bit of that experience. Time, in moments, that experience has pushed them through against us to get the draws and to get that win. What's your feelings on Reading, like, say, next year when you come up against them?
I mean, in the summer, they took in, they've got Angrad James in to give him a bit of steel in the middle of the park. I think, as Dave says, we've played other teams and we've either lost, we've got a good record against them. Reading seem to be the team that we either win or we lose against or draw. And I think that, as Dave said, and I agree with, I think we're all on the same level. We're all battling to be the number 4th in that league. With regard, where do I see them going? If they've got the backing of the club to bring in players, then I hope they can continue I hope they can continue, just not to continue to improve more than we do, or obviously. They've always had good games against Reading, and they're one of, like I said, they're. I think when you take out the top three, and you look at the league, Liverpool are a complete surprise to some people where they are, but you look at the mid-table, all those teams around there were all battling for that fourth place, and I think that's where Reading should be, and I think that's where we should be, and Everton and a couple of other teams.
Yeah, Everton, I think, they've done well to be up there in that. I didn't have them as that. I had them maybe like considering where they finished and expect them to be where they were. Reading, good side, they're fans, but they're players, man. Crane knows they're players, and that's what I think we need to get wise to. Be smart on them. Guys, it's coming up to an hour. Does anyone want to say anything? Thanks everyone for watching. But is there any last thoughts on anything?
No, it still annoys me how we lost that game, how we drew that game, but I'll get over it eventually.
It annoys me how we lost that game. Never mind, Drew.
All right.
The FA Cup one. Jake saying Reading are on a similar run to us. They've got creative players, but they've not got like a main striker, which probably has let them down this year. And a lot of people create. Williams creates, but they've not got someone putting it in the net, which everyone's sort of looking for, that striker. But the strikers cost money, innit? But guys, thanks a lot for watching. We'll be back next week. Another 4 people. Who knows what we'll talk about? Just keeping entertained. Join us on Sunday socials. We run a Skype chat for ages about everything. So it's not all about football, but we can talk some football in there. Me and Dave tomorrow are going to do a little dev chat on Naughty Natty TV. But this is the Barmy Army signing out. Thanks everyone. Love you. Up the Reds.